Today is Thursday, Parashat Tavo. The parasha of this week includes in it a portion that describes the many blessings that will come our way when we do the will of Hashem. And then there is a succession of a rebuke, a very, very strong rebuke, curses that dire consequences of Am Yisrael not doing the will of Hashem. And some of the descriptions in the Psukim are horrible. But within that succession of verses that describe the dire consequences, there is a pasuk that I'd like to dwell on in this Dvar Torah. The pasuk says, "Tachat asher lo avadta et Hashem Elokecha besimcha uptuv levav merov kol." And it says that all these difficulties, all these troubles will happen. Why? Because you did not serve Hashem, your God, with happiness and with gladness of heart when you had an abundance of everything. Tuv levav, with goodness of heart, merov kol, when you had an abundance of everything. In other words, the reason for all the troubles, you may even have served Hashem. You may have even done mitzvot, but you didn't do it besimcha, with happiness, uptuv levav, and with goodness of heart. And that's a very, very important ingredient in every mitzvah that we do. The ingredients of feeling how fortunate we are, of being joyful with doing the mitzvah, of doing it besimcha. Because if you do mitzvah and you do it without simcha in doing the mitzvah, if it's like a load, it's not complete. And sometimes we don't recognize all the goodness that Hashem has given us. We take a lot of things for granted. We should always be thankful and thank Hashem besimcha for everything that He grants us. There is a sort of an observation that was made, if I remember well, by that Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, that about a situation that happened maybe about 100 years ago, 80 years ago, and there was a lot of immigration to this country from Europe. And Jewish families that came from Europe were obviously from East Europe, were observant Jews who kept the Shabbat, who followed the mitzvot. And at the time, if they wouldn't want to work on Shabbat, many employers would tell them, don't come back on Monday. You either come to work on Saturday or forget coming back to work. And invariably, the greatest majority of these people would rather lose their position at work rather than to desecrate the Shabbat. And on Shabbat, they just did not go to work. And on Monday, they went looking for another job. And sometimes it was very difficult to find another job. But regardless, they would not give up the Shabbat for the safety or security of having a permanent job. And yet, the children of some of these families, when they grew up, they did not continue in the way of their fathers. They went off the path. Some of them continues to be observant, Shomrei Mitzvot, Shomrei Shabbat, and others didn't. And apparently Rabbi Feinstein was asked, how could it be that their children would go off the way? And he was told it was depend on how the parents reacted to that situation. If the father said, I am so proud of observing Shabbat, this is the way to do it, regardless, a job, no job, I am so happy that we have Shabbat, and he showed his commitment with simcha, then that person, his children, will continue to go and continue to observe the Shabbat, etc. And if a person sat at the table of Shabbat with a sad face, how he's worried, how is he going to continue to feed his family? This is so difficult. Some people even use the expression, oh, it's so hard to be Jewish, it's so difficult. That such a person, his children would absorb that kind of attitude, that it's difficult, that you're not happy with the mitzvah. Then when they grow up, they may abandon it. So important it is that as we observe the mitzvot, we have that feeling of happiness, and we sort of show it within our family, with the people that are around us, so that there is that spirit of, we're fortunate that Hashem gave us the mitzvot. We're fortunate that He chose us as His chosen nation. And we should feel happy with everything that we have. And we should be thankful for everything. There are many times people take things for granted. We have even a bracha when a person, after he goes to the restroom, Asher yatzar et ha'adam bechokhmah u'baravo nekavim. Even for such a simple thing, we thank Hashem for the ability to do those things. We thank Hashem when we eat food, when we thank Him when we say Birkat Mazon. And we should do it always Besimcha and feel fortunate that we have the mitzvot. And this is a very important ingredient in every Jewish person's life. And it's in this parasha, we're told that it's so important that if a person doesn't serve Hashem Besimcha, this is something that could have not such pleasant consequences. So we should always, mitzvah gedolah, it's a great mitzvah, liot besimcha tamid, to be always happy, to serve Hashem besimcha, to do mitzvot besimcha, and whatever it takes to fulfill the mitzvot. Sometimes it involves effort, it involves sometimes expenditure, money, whether it is to send kids to Jewish day schools, whatever difficulty is in fulfilling the mitzvah, a person should be thankful to Hashem that He gave us those mitzvot, and we should do them besimcha, with happiness. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.